Next speaker I have is Sandi Hayner.
Hi there, my name is Sandi Hayner from Stillwater, Minnesota. This board and administration hired consultant Mary Ciccone to guide you on healing the community that you fractured. Some in the community argue that we have yet to see a return on that investment. However, at one point I had hope for a positive and meaningful change when Mrs. Ciccone advised the board and the superintendent to answer questions that are asked at the open forum. The professional advice was to address these questions at the following meeting. This was also a significant rationale in the advice to move to twice-a-month meetings as opposed to the once-a-month meetings. This was claimed to allow for more opportunity for public and transparent communication. Many of us who have participated in these open forums can and have testified that the indifference and uninterested attitude that we receive up here is more than disrespectful, especially considering your role as public servants who work with us. You're spending our money, and you're supposed to be making excellent decisions for our children. For this reason, Mary Ciccone's advice was music to our ears. It appears that for a brief time, this advice was heeded, sort of. You would pick and choose who you deemed worthy of a response and who should be ignored. How is that equitable? For example, just keep in mind here that I'm just one of many. I once received a non-responsive handwritten note from George Hepner shoved at me while he was leaving a board meeting. Why not just read it during the actual meeting that just took place? George was the board chair at the time. Where's the transparency in secret notes? I asked that very question at another open forum and made a plea that public questions be given public answers. Frustrated, I reached out to the board's hired community engagement consultant, Mary Ciccone, and she backpedaled and quipped that neither the board nor the admin owe us any answers. They can ignore us if they choose. Interesting, because they were already doing that for free. It was a terrible disappointment. Why is it so hard to get real answers around here? Who is hiding what and why? Why is this allowed? I'm asking all board members to hold each other accountable on this. This stonewalling isn't limited to just open forums, though. I reviewed hundreds of pages of data requests and discovered glaring inaccuracies in redactions and giant holes of missing emails. When inquiries were made regarding these infractions, they were not taken seriously, nor were they answered respectfully. I approached you once again at the November 9th, 2017 open forum, seeking further understanding and resources to clarify this district's policies as mandated by the long-established Minnesota Data Practices Act. I asked for public answers to these public questions. George Hepner, again, the chair, said he'd be willing to look into it if I wrote the questions down for him. So I did. Here's a question, or here's a copy. Remember that? I patiently waited for a response, nothing. Then I repeatedly asked him for a response, nothing. He told me that he would email them. He told me someone else emailed them. He implied that I was a liar when I told him I never received an email, nor did I even submit an email address for him to use. He told me he'd give them to me in person, and 4 months later, here we are. None of those things have happened. He even told me that he emailed them to somebody else. Why? How does that make any sense? He told me I should go to that person for my answers. I'm at nearly every board meeting and retreat. George hurries past me as though I'm invisible. He has no idea who I am or that I was never even a student in his class. How is that for community engagement? Clearly, I'm not the only one frustrated with this process, as a recent open forum speaker addressed you, requesting that the board and administration make a habit and perhaps even a policy of publicly and transparently responding to speakers who take the time to share their thoughts and concerns. Ironically, the superintendent responded to this speaker and indicated that this practice actually does take place when questions are asked. Okay, so number one, that's not true. And number two, this isn't Jeopardy, where there's a loophole in the phrasing that absolves you of the responsibility to answer to the public you serve. Concerns are just as valid as questions and deserve a thoughtful, direct, respectful, public, timely, and transparent response. So Tom, I'm now asking you as the new chair, is this something as a board you're willing to commit and create a policy to hold you and future board members and administration accountable to the public, otherwise known as your employers? So to get to those questions that I still have, number one, how are board members classified as per the Data Practices Act? Are they employees, or elected officials? Where can I find documentation of this classification? Who is the legally required responsible authority in regards to data practices? Number four, where can I find documentation of this responsible authority and when they were delegated? Number five, where can I find the records retention schedule as it pertains to the Minnesota Records Act? Number 6, when was the district's plan submitted to the state board and approved? Number 7, how long are board members and administrative staff directed to keep emails and materials deemed by the law to be official record? Number 8, where would I find the district's DPA redaction log as required by law? And number 9, who would I contact in order to access this log? Thanks.
Thank you.